The calm of Sunday morning in rural Nova Scotia pierced by sirens. The chase for a gunman who left untold devastation in his wake. When it ended, he was dead. So were at least 13 others, including an RCMP officer, leaving families, communities shattered.
2 children have lost their mother, and a husband has lost his wife.
A national tragedy in the middle of a global crisis. Good evening, I'm Ian Hanamansing. Tonight, extensive coverage of the Nova Scotia shootings, how the tragedy unfolded, the victims lost, the communities grieving, and the RCMP commissioner with the latest.
We have multiple scenes spreading over at least 50 kilometers, buildings, vehicles.
Plus, what we've learned about the man responsible for the deadliest mass shooting in Canada since École Polytechnique. This is The National.
They got him on lockdown. They're going for him right now. They got the killer right here. Oh, they got him, but they shot him. I heard the 4 shots.
This video appears to capture the dramatic final confrontation between police and the gunman after his 12-hour shooting spree killed at least 13 people, including a veteran police officer, and left traumatic aftershocks in this quiet part of the country where families have known each other for generations and even leave doors unlocked. Tonight we'll share everything we know about this senseless act, one of the deadliest mass shootings in Canadian history. We'll look at the lives lost and the shooter whose actions have left several communities devastated. It all began in Portapique, about 90 minutes north of Halifax. People in and around that community still reeling in shock tonight, as are residents of Enfield, where it finally ended. Tom Murphy begins our coverage tonight with a look at what happened and when.
It all started with multiple firearm calls at a Portapique house down this country road.
Several casualties inside and outside of the home. This was a very quickly evolving situation and a chaotic scene.
That was around 11:30 p.m. on Saturday. Minutes later, police ordered people in the Portapique area to lock themselves in their homes. Nearby resident Mike McKay saw the police cars coming and several buildings burning.
You know, you're on edge. It's a small community. You know, and thinking, well, you know, if they do cross the river, I haven't slept.
By morning, police released the shooter's name and picture. Neighbors are shocked to learn it's the normally mild-mannered Gabriel Wortman. Police reported there are several victims. Around 9:45 a.m., CBC learned of another house fire, this time north of Portapique in the community of Wentworth. Police aren't offering any details on that. Shortly after 10 a.m., police warned Wortman is on the move again, making his way in the direction of Halifax. He was spotted in the Brookfield area wearing what appeared to be an RCMP uniform and driving what looked to be a police cruiser, a mock-up. Wortman had no RCMP affiliation. Police described him as armed and dangerous.
The fact that this individual had a uniform and a police car at his disposal certainly speaks to it not being a random act.
Video surfaced on social media appearing to show police cars on fire in the Shubenacadie area. It also appears to show officers approaching the vehicles. Then, just before noon, police warned the public Wortman was now driving a silver Chevy Tracker SUV. Darcy Sack said she saw him.
We did not realize that was him until we saw 4 police cars behind him. He was dressed looking like a police officer himself. He looked he was okay, to be honest. He didn't look like he was in any type of rush. He didn't look like he was worried.
Moments later, police said they had cornered Wortman at an Irving Big Stop in Enfield, 12 hours after and 92 kilometers away from where it seems to have all begun. Tom Murphy, CBC News, Halifax.
There is still so much we don't know about those killed by the gunman in what is now one of the country's deadliest shootings. And tonight, a community struggles to find answers. Shayna Luck is there.
This morning, Dave Brown was sheltering in his home, but by the afternoon, his grief brought him outside to display his heart on his sleeve.
When stuff like this happens, we got to rally together as people, loved ones in the community, and just show everybody that, you know, bad things happen, but we're still good people out there, right?
This tiny seaside community holds only about 100 people, a smattering of houses on the northern shore of the Bay of Fundy. But deep in the night, people on this quiet road woke to see things they never expected. An armored police car, officers with guns drawn, racing in every direction. And across the bay, something unsettling.
Pretty large house fires, yes, and some explosions, gas tanks or propane tanks and what have you. And with no firefighters, to be seen because of the other, activity that we were unaware of at the time. So
The RCMP have lost one officer. Another is injured. The dead officer is Constable Heidi Stevenson, a 23-year veteran of the force.
2 children have lost their mother, and a husband has lost his wife. Parents have lost their daughter, and countless others lost an incredible friend and colleague.
Details about victims are still emerging, and some are still waiting to find out if their loved ones were caught up in the gunman's rampage.
This is one of the most senseless acts of violence in our province's history. Words cannot or console the families affected by what has transpired over the last 24 hours.
Back in Portapique, the community is reeling. They aren't even sure who among their neighbors is dead.
If it's the lady who we think it is, like I've met her a couple times, and always walking around with a smile on her face every time I seen her, and it's real. It's saddening, very saddening.
People in Portapique are going to have to wait a bit longer for answers. Police said this afternoon they are just at the beginning of a long and complicated investigation. There's also a secondary investigation by the agency that steps in whenever someone is injured or killed during police activity. Shayna Lux, CBC News, Portapique, Nova Scotia.
And we have some breaking news from our CMP headquarters, and it is a grim update. 16 people now have been confirmed killed, not including the gunman. A man about whom there are many questions. We know he was familiar to people in the area, but no one seems to know what his motive could possibly be. Among the mysteries, why he tried to pass himself off as a police officer. Kayla Hounslow has been putting together a fuller picture.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Wortman. I'm a licensed insurist here in the province of Nova Scotia.
51-year-old Gabriel Wortman is also the man police say went on a 12-hour shooting spree, killing at least 13 people.
I can't really wrap my head around it, so I'm waiting.
Cheryl Tilden was one of his patients at his Dartmouth clinic, where she says his wife also worked.
He treated me like family. Him and his wife were joking around all the time. Made you feel great. By the time I left there, I was in a better...
I interviewed Wortman for another network in 2014 over dentures that he had donated.
He, was known for his bike. And
Loretta Parley went to high school with a Gabriel Wortman. She says this is his yearbook photo.
He spoke in his high school biography about wanting to be an RCMP. It was briefly in passing how every typical teenager talks about, what they want to do once they're out of school. And that was what he had mentioned, being a police officer.
Today, the RCMP didn't provide any information about Wortman's motivation, whether he was known to police or the relationship to his victims, except that some of them appeared to be chosen randomly.
I'm sorry, due to privacy reasons, I'm not able to discuss the relationship with the victims, other than to say there were some that appeared not to have a relationship with the assailant, the shooter.
All of it is so hard to believe for Cheryl Tilden.
Honestly, if he would have showed up at my door without knowing any of this, I would have just invited him in.
RCMP confirm Wortman is now dead. Kayla Hounslow, CBC News, Halifax.
And the RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki joins us now from Ottawa. Commissioner Lucki, our condolences on this terrible day in Nova Scotia. What's your message for your members and for Canadians?
My heart is broken today, not only for the loss of our member and one of our members being injured, but for the entire province of Nova Scotia, because it's not just the RCMP family, we're part of a bigger family in each community, and so the entire province is going to be grieving, and my heart goes out to them.
The number of people killed, staggering, obviously. What little we're hearing about the circumstances also is hard to imagine in any place, but especially in rural Nova Scotia. What can you tell us about what this gunman apparently did? Well, I can tell you it started again last night around just after 10.
after multiple 911 calls, and we have multiple scenes spreading over at least 50 kilometers, buildings, vehicles, and now I can report that there were 13 victims so far, plus the suspect that are deceased.
One of your senior officers in Nova Scotia said that some of the victims here were apparently chosen at random. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I would say I believe at the beginning there was an initial motivation, and then I think it turned to randomness, and our investigation will tell that. We don't know for sure, and we're going to have to do a lot of work on finding the motivation, a lot of background, a lot of profiling type events, and a lot of crime scene processing.
We want to be careful, of course, to separate rumor from fact, but I know there are emails going among law enforcement officials across the country, police officers, and I saw one where one officer describes what he knows about this as pure evil. Does that line up with what you know about what happened here?
Anytime we lose a life, it's one too many lives, and until we find out exactly what happened, it's hard to describe it. I just know it's just a big, huge tragedy for our country today, and there's no words to describe it.
And the task force the RCMP is part of that investigates potential terror attacks, is it involved in the investigation here at all?
No, we're using our resources that we have on the ground that will be supplemented by subject matter experts in the forensics and probably in the profiling area, and doing our general investigation as a murder, multiple murders, and we'll be using all types of resources, whatever it takes, so that we can give the families of the victims answers to the many questions that they probably have.
But just seconds left here, just to clarify, you don't believe that this is terror-related then?
Not to our knowledge, not at this point.
Okay, Commissioner Lucky, a difficult day, of course, for Nova Scotians, for Canadians, and certainly for the RCMP. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.
And we did that interview a little earlier this evening when the death toll was lower. It is, as you can see on the screen now, 16 people, not including the gunman. Stay with us for more on this story tonight as we share reaction and support from Canadians across the country. We'll also get some insight from an expert on where this investigation likely goes from here. But now let's turn to other news. To date, COVID-19 has led to the deaths of more than 1,600 Canadians, with more than 35,000 testing positive. The pace of infection remains a challenge. 1,673 new cases reported today, a stubbornly high number. But if we look at the daily increases in cases as a percentage of the running total, it's consistent. That's a sign of holding the line against a tenacious threat. That threat has until now effectively shut down Parliament. The government says it wants strict limits on how MPs return to Ottawa tomorrow. It says that's for safety, but the opposition says it may undermine accountability. Ashley Burke has the debate over democracy in a pandemic.
We should have Parliament that functions, but we have to do it responsibly.
The Liberals say they want to be held accountable. The Conservatives argue they're not going far enough.
We think in times like this, we need more accountability, more transparency, not less.
They're two leaders with different views of how Parliament can function in a pandemic.
I believe deeply in our democracy, in our democratic institutions, and our principles, and it's important to be accountable. I'm perfectly happy to be taking questions every day from media, and I'm looking forward to taking questions from opposition parties. But it has to be done in a responsible way.
Physical distancing means staying 2 meters apart, not staying away from Parliament.
The sticking point, whether MPs should physically sit in the House. The Conservatives want several in-person sessions a week, while the Liberals are pushing for one, with additional virtual meetings. Other opposition parties support that.
I think the reality is the more that we're meeting in person, the more that increases the risk.
The Bloc is also on board, but the Greens won't give their support unless it's a legislative emergency.
They can't stock the grocery stores virtually, but we can, as MPs, meet virtually.
I do have another question for you.
May points out some House committees are already meeting online.
I've seen Pierre Poilievre go at Bill Morneau on Zoom. It wasn't any different in quality within question period.
The Liberals say it's about being reasonable. The Conservatives say it's about being accountable. All of this during a pandemic when Canadians want both democracy and decisiveness. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
A life and death struggle with COVID-19 at long-term care facilities across Canada continues for residents and those who care for them. Victoria Salvin, a patient attendant at Grace Dart Extended Care Centre in Montreal, contracted COVID-19, her death confirmed this weekend. At least 62 residents of the Grace Dart facility have tested positive for the virus, along with 18 staff. And in Ontario, Mountain View Care Home in Georgetown reported 8 deaths linked to COVID-19. About 1 in 6 long-term care homes in Ontario have outbreaks, among the worst at Anson Place and Edenville Care Centres, both operated by the same company. Talia Ricci heard from a woman whose parents both live in Edenville.
The home is doing everything they can, but I'm really worried.
Both of Jane Bailey's parents have tested positive for COVID-19. But her worries extend to everyone at that long-term care home.
Edenville is traumatized.
More than 30 residents have died. More than 100 have tested positive, and so have dozens of staff. Bailey is concerned the home isn't getting the support it needs.
Promises that are being made do not appear to be being implemented in the urgent and timely manner that has been expressed is going to happen.
The Ontario Nurses Association has filed a legal action against this home and 2 others operated by the same company.
The protective equipment was not available. There was a lack of communication to the nurses.
The company says workers have had protective equipment. The province says hospital staff are helping at this home as well as others, but that it doesn't have the capacity to take over the homes.
First of all, that's right in my own backyard. It's an absolute tragedy.
In a statement, Edenville Care Centre says Trillium Health Partners is providing additional support to the home through testing residents, prevention education, and connecting several residents with a geriatrician. Some with loved ones in the home, like Trish Miller, are managing to stay positive, especially after receiving news of a negative test.
It's definitely scary, but you know, everybody, they're doing the best they can.
For now, Miller has been doing a Christmas countdown for her aunt in the home, something to look forward to.
Okay, we love you too.
But Bailey isn't feeling as hopeful. She says more help is needed now.
All of these 133 people that tested positive at Edenville are going to start passing away.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
And in the U.S., frustration about measures meant to protect people have led to more protests at state capitals. With demonstrations in the first state affected by the coronavirus, Washington, and in Colorado, thousands demanding to be able to go back to work. All of this comes as America reaches another milestone. More than 750,000 people confirmed with COVID-19. The number of deaths has passed 40,000. Protesters have expressed sympathy, but as Paul Hunter tells us, they're also fearing economic uncertainty.
Nashville today, among the latest U.S. state capitals to face the anger of a growing number of Americans demanding the U.S. be reopened, bolstered perhaps by the continuing trickle of positive news on some fronts.
All indications at this point are that we are on a descent.
But while New York's governor noted the rate of COVID hospitalizations in his state is dropping, he also emphasized the coronavirus, or as he put it, the beast, is still out there.
We can control the beast. Yes, but the beast is still alive. We did not kill the beast. And the beast can rise up again. We know that.
He said it all depends on how people behave now. And yet, they demonstrated all weekend. This is Denver today. And this is Wisconsin yesterday, where even in the face of those who argue it's unsafe to rush into a reopening, demonstrators countered their own liberty is at stake.
We are still a free country, at least for now.
Highlighting the growing desperation, lineups of cars yet again for food handouts this weekend in Texas. Food many can no longer afford to actually buy.
We have 5 kids and then like 3 grandbabies at home. So right now, it's a big help to us.
They want to get out. They want to get out and get back with their lives.
Suggested Donald Trump today he's on side with those protesters, of whom he's evidently well aware.
I watched the protest and they were all 6 feet apart. Some governors have gone too far. Some of the things that happened are maybe not so appropriate. And I think in the end it's not going to matter because we're starting to open up our states.
The reopen, said Trump, will be systematic and, in his words, done beautifully. Said the president tonight he thinks it'll go very well. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Misinformation about COVID-19 is spreading faster than the virus, and it's powered by social media. Everything from supposed cures to conspiracy theories about the outbreak are out there. And as Katie Nicholson explains, tech companies are struggling to contain it.
This video claims children died after receiving a COVID-19 vaccine. This is one of more than 40 million posts flagged by Facebook as false. It hasn't been removed, but it starts with this link to a fact check. Critics say that doesn't go far enough.
I can't imagine it convincing anyone who doesn't already believe that stuff.
Robert Evans is a journalist with fact-checking organization Bellingcat. He says tons of misleading information is slipping through and Facebook needs to take more aggressive action. But the problem is the sheer volume of users and content.
Fundamentally, Facebook is too large to monitor for this sort of thing. I don't see how you could stop it without shutting large portions of the site down.
Facebook, which owns Instagram, says it does its best to ensure posts that pose a danger to people are removed quickly. But because of physical distancing, fewer employees can access its secure servers.
It's fair to say that that will have an impact on the ability for us to be as fast as we normally would be.
Facebook also plans to start contacting people who have interacted with misleading content. And then there's Twitter.
I think Twitter is probably one of the worst in terms of misinformation.
Tweets like this one claiming Bill Gates planned this pandemic through the use of 5G are rampant and hard to report to Twitter as fake.
There is no opportunity in the options that Twitter lists to connect that as misinformation related to COVID-19.
Twitter says it takes misinformation seriously, but it also has to consider something else.
We certainly are trying to strike that delicate balance between freedom of speech, the ability to dissent when it comes to an idea.
Google, which also owns YouTube, says it's cracking down on who can use the keywords COVID and coronavirus in advertising. It also says it's moving content from reliable sources up higher in search results. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
It has been a devastating day in Nova Scotia.
You hear that kind of news and you don't even imagine that that could happen here in this province.
Next, reaction from shocked local leaders, their words of comfort and hope for their community and Canadians.
It appears to be, at least in part, very random.
Investigating a tragedy and following a killer's chaotic path over multiple crime scenes. We get an insider's look at how investigators are likely working this case.
That I will have to fight.
Finding ways to come together during a tragedy while being separated by a global crisis. We're back right after this. Let's return to our top story, that run of horrific violence that ended this morning after a police chase in rural Nova Scotia. RCMP say at least 16 people are dead after a man went on a shooting rampage. Tonight we continue our full coverage, what we know, and how a province must now come to grips with one of the worst crimes in Canadian history. As you saw earlier in the program, late this afternoon, Nova Scotia RCMP addressed the media, and here's a bit more of what the Assistant Commissioner said.
Today is a devastating day for Nova Scotia, and it will remain etched in the minds of many for years to come. What has unfolded overnight and into this morning is incomprehensible, and many families are experiencing the loss of a loved one. That includes our own RCMP family. It's with tremendous sadness that I share with you that we have lost Constable Heidi Stevenson, a 23-year veteran of the force, who was killed this morning while responding to an active shooter incident. Heidi answered the call of duty and lost her life while protecting those she served. Earlier this afternoon, I met with Heidi's family, and there are no words to describe their pain. 2 children have lost their mother, and a husband has lost his wife. Parents have lost their daughter, and countless others lost an incredible friend and colleague. This tragic incident has also resulted in many victims outside of the RCMP. Countless families are in mourning today. Each person who lost their family and friend, and they too will need their support. The impact of this incident will extend from one end of the province to the other. As Nova Scotians, we have to do what we're known for and come together in times of need and support each other.
There has been reaction from across the country, and Anita Bath has been gathering that in our Vancouver newsroom. Anita?
Ian, the news of this tragedy is emotional for people everywhere in Canada. In a statement, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's saddened to learn about the senseless violence. Every day, law enforcement members put themselves in harm's way to ensure our safety and well-being. As a country, in moments like these, we come together to support one another. Together, we will mourn with the families of the victims and help them get through this difficult time. Now, Canada's Governor General says she is devastated by the shootings.
Our heart goes out to the family of Constable Stevenson. I reached out to some of the RCMP officers that work with me day in and day out. It's a big family, and we feel terrible with this loss of life. We don't have any details. My condolences to all those affected.
Here in BC, we are far away, but I can tell you the details of what's happened have hit home. Premier John Horgan calling it a senseless attack, adding the hearts of British Columbians are with all the victims. But really, Ian, we have a whole country standing with Nova Scotians tonight. Many are heartbroken, knowing how hard it will be to mourn the victims under this time of physical distancing and COVID-19.
Thanks, Anita. This is an unimaginable tragedy for the communities affected. These are rural areas where everyone knows their neighbor. And as 2 local politicians tell us, they're now struggling to understand how this could happen just outside their homes.
People live here because they feel safe and secure in a nice little rural community where everybody kind of, for the most part, knows everybody. And I think that they're shocked, and I don't think we really know what to think. It's just unbelievable that this can happen in any rural community in Nova Scotia. It would be different, I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot of people around here probably don't lock their doors. They've lived here all their life. They leave whatever sitting out on the side of the road. There's no concern. We talk about COVID being a new life. This is a new life, new reality for us right today.
Well, you hear that kind of news and you don't even imagine that that could happen here in this province in a rural area. You think it might happen in big cities somewhere, but not here. Communities are so tightly knit that this kind of a devastation hits everybody. It's not just that community that's affected. It affects all of us now. I hope as community members, they're going to maybe make a phone call, send an email, a card, anything that lets that family know that they're not going to go through this alone. The whole community is there for them.
So what will the impact of these horrific murders be in a place usually so quiet and friendly? Tom Murphy is the host of CBC News Nova Scotia. He knows the Maritimes inside out. And Tom, as you covered this story today, you were speaking to people. What did you hear?
Yeah, I talked to a number of people in Portapique where this all started, absolutely gobsmacked about what could happen, that could happen in their community. They knew this guy as a good community guy, a friendly guy. I mean, you think about it, this guy was a denturist who quite literally put smiles on people's faces, empowered them, made them feel better about themselves with the denture work. Here we have a guy who's brought an unbelievable amount of fear and grief and really concern to their community. They just cannot put together the two personalities involved here. Absolutely floored by what happened today.
Yeah, and you know, we were hoping maybe we get some clarity in that news conference this evening, but still, even the RCMP says that they don't fully understand, or even understand at all, the motive. Six years ago, Tom, those horrific RCMP murders in Moncton, you covered those. Are you seeing a parallel in terms of the impact on the community?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those first times in this part of the country, which is normally very quiet on this kind of a thing, when people felt that fear, for hours at a time. That same kind of fear was felt in Nova Scotia for a 12-hour period here today and last night. Also, of course, the loss of innocence. That's what comes next. People laugh. I was saying today, people like to sleep with their windows open and the doors unlocked in many parts of Nova Scotia. Some people questioning that now, whether that is the thing to do. Just really trying to come to grips with what happened, and this will take days for them to dissect it. And really, some of the families too, some of them on Facebook, for example, people who are living afar, trying to find out, has anyone seen my parents? My parents live on this part and this part of the community. Did you see them? So there are still a lot of ripples to this whole story that's happening right now. It's really painful to watch it play out.
And so much more to find out. And I know you and Kayla will be leading our coverage in the coming days. Tom, thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Next on The National, investigating a chaotic series of crime scenes and what to make of this, the killer's apparent replica of an RCMP cruiser. My interview with a former Mountie investigator is next.
What happened here in our province is not who we are. It may change us a little, but it cannot define us.
There is still so much we don't know about this deadly rampage in Nova Scotia, but here's what we do know. Late tonight, the RCMP confirmed that at least 16 people are now dead, including RCMP Constable Heidi Stevenson. A second officer is in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Yes, we believe it to be one person who's responsible for all the killings, and that he alone moved across the northern part of the province.
The gunman, 51-year-old Gabriel Wortman, is also dead. Police confirming Wortman was at one point driving in a car made to look like a police cruiser. Well, let's get a policing perspective on this. Steve Marasink is a former RCMP major crimes investigator, and he joins us tonight from Edmonton. So as you heard that news conference from Halifax, Steve, what was your reaction?
Just a tragedy, an unprecedented tragedy, Ian, that's going to be felt across Canada. The numbers that they have indicated that are deceased and the loss of an RCMP member is just tragic. There are no other words than that.
And give us a sense of some of the policing perspectives. Middle of the night, rural Nova Scotia, multiple 911 calls. What was that like, do you think?
Well, I can just imagine when the 911 calls start coming in, the members who are going to be working in a rural location, so they're going to be separated by distance. There's not going to be a lot of resources available because, again, it's a rural location, and they would have all started to head to that location, and they would have arrived individually, perhaps two in a vehicle, but it would have been a presence that would have grown over time. But again, for the first officers on the scene, it would have been chaos.
And then the gunman takes off in an RCMP vehicle, I mean a fake one, but it's made to look like that, wearing an RCMP uniform. What do you make of that?
Well, the first thing for the officers on scene, they're going to have to secure the scene and try to identify a suspect or what happened, to try to make sense of what they're seeing. And then the fact that this individual has put a mock-up of a police car together and part of a uniform suggests to me that there's been a lot of pre-planning, forethought, and consideration. This was not a spur-of-the-moment event. This individual planned what he was going to do and carried it out.
So we hear he had a connection to some of the victims and did not have a connection to other victims. There will be no criminal trial here. The suspect is dead. But Steve, if you were investigating this now, what would you be looking for?
The why. Technically they'll be able to put together the how, they'll be able to put the locations in a timeline, but again, it's going to be the motivation. What caused this individual to do such a drastic, horrendous thing, and why at that time? But obviously with the mock-up of the car, this was not a spur of the moment. He put planning and consideration into this, and you have to wonder, did anybody notice that? Was anybody aware of what he was doing?
Sounds like you're as perplexed as the rest of us as we try to find out more about this. Steve Marasink in Edmonton, always nice talking to you.
Thank you, Ian.
Next on The National, we return to the other big story affecting Canadians tonight, the coronavirus pandemic. Your questions are next and later.
There will be mountains that I will have to climb.
Connecting through tragedy, the Nova Scotia way. We're back right after this.
CBC Music is now all Canadian. The latest and greatest Canadian hits, classic tracks, exclusive live recordings, and more. CBC Music, all Canadian, weekdays on CBC Music, or stream it on the CBC Listen app.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast, Front Burner, we take a deep dive into China's world of wet markets to find out exactly why many experts are calling for them to be shut down. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. Let's return to our other major story tonight, Canada's ongoing COVID-19 epidemic. And with us is respirologist Dr. Samir Gupta and infectious disease specialist Dr. Isaac Bogosh to answer more of your questions. And Dr. Bogosh, let's start with you. Given the 14-day incubation period and the fact we've been in virtual lockdown for 3 to 4 weeks, if we all self-isolate or practice social distancing, is the virus going to disappear completely?
Unfortunately, it really won't under practical situations. Now, in an imaginary situation where 8 billion people on planet Earth were in isolation for a period of 14 days, yeah, that might actually happen. But of course, we know that will never be the case. People will move around despite physical distancing measures. And sadly, even a little bit of community transmission can set off new chains of infection. So this will slow down the spread of infection, but sadly, it would not eliminate the virus from the Earth.
Dr. Gupta, a lot of talk about vaccines and hence this question. Are we at risk of being given vaccines that have not been tested for long enough?
No, I think, the reality is we all kind of wanted a vaccine yesterday, but typically it takes 12 to 18 months to develop a vaccine. I do think it will be faster in this case, not necessarily because we're going to skip steps, but just because we're seeing this unprecedented level of collaboration, between pharma companies. We're seeing all this scientific interest, we're seeing all this funding. It really is kind of the whole world's problem. And the trials that we are hearing about in humans really are trials to determine, what's the right dose and is it safe? We're not at the point of trials to determine whether it's effective.
Dr. Bogosh, I hear a lot of people asking about mutations of the COVID-19 virus. And the question from one of our viewers is, has the virus ever mutated in a significant way?
I think we have to clarify the word mutation and remember that every single virus mutates. All mutation means is some change in the genetics of the virus. This happens to every single virus. And we often have this perception that mutation means something's going to get more strong or more virulent or more dangerous. That's not the case. In fact, most mutations do nothing. And scientists can harness the change in these mutations and the change in the genetics of a virus to really determine interesting things like how long a virus has been in one place and compare it to another. But really, if people are thinking that these mutations may mean that the virus is stronger or more dangerous in one location compared to another location, that is not the case. The virus has mutated a little bit, but that just helps us understand where the virus is and how long it's been there. But the virus is no more dangerous in place A compared to place B because of any changes in the virus.
Thanks for clearing that up. Dr. Gupta, next question to you. Without adequate testing, how will we know when it's safe to begin opening up cities, provinces, and the country?
I would say we just won't know. We do need that testing. I think for us to feel comfortable sending people back out there, we really are going to want to understand how this virus is behaving. And to know that, we're going to want to know exactly who has this virus and who doesn't, but also who has had the infection and has a reasonable degree of immunity to it. And to know those things, we need enough tests. In other words, we need community testing, but we also need accurate enough tests. And that means that we need to understand, with respect to all these various tests that are now out there, what the so-called false positive and false negative rate is for each of these tests. So we do need that testing and we need more information.
I always say this, but it bears repeating. I really appreciate all the time you and your colleagues have taken and how clearly you explain the science to us. So thank you very much.
Stay safe.
Anytime.
And we'll continue to ask your questions about COVID-19 on The National each night, so send those to us. You can message us directly on Instagram at CBC The National, or you can send us an email at covid@cbc.ca. Around the world, 2.4 million people have tested positive for COVID-19, but every country's epidemic is its own story.
Doctors and nurses are doing a heroic job.
from Italy's state of emergency to Iran's early state of denial.
Maybe the government doesn't have this in hand if the person who's responsible for fighting the virus is standing there, probably involved in a super spreader event himself on camera.
From Germany's life-saving caution to France's costly confidence.
There's a lot of anger in France right now.
The National looks at lessons we learn about the virus and the countries fighting it. Brazil has confirmed roughly the same number of cases as Canada, but has far more deaths. Its leader continues to call COVID-19 a little flu, concerns about its hysteria. And as Stephen D'Souza shows us, that's led to disarray and some fear looming disaster.
On Brazilian balconies, the sounds of samba have been replaced by the clamor of pots and pans and shouts of Bolsonaro out. Brazilians heeded the call from state and health officials to quarantine, abandoning their iconic beaches, emptying famous soccer stadiums. But now there are signs Brazilians are starting to tune out the warnings. Critics blame President Jair Bolsonaro. He's continually downplayed the virus and ignored calls for physical distancing. Last week, he fired the country's health minister, whose sober technical briefings had made him immensely popular as Bolsonaro's support plummeted.
This was inevitable that at some stage he would have to sack the Minister of Health because there was basically a complete contradictory communication taking place between the two.
The firing brings added uncertainty to Brazil's uneven pandemic response. The health system is nearing capacity. The country lacks tests and equipment. And favelas, Brazil's sprawling slums, are hiring their own doctors and imposing their own curfews.
We have two enemies, the virus and the president. I really don't know which the worst.
Like his ally Donald Trump, Bolsonaro wants a return to normal, even as calls for his impeachment grow.
Impeachment remains a remote possibility because people are so focused on sort of near-term challenges. And I think the president seems to know that.
Experts estimate Brazil's case count is likely 12 times higher than the official number. Now, with the new health minister, who is unlikely to stand up to the president, there are fears about what could happen with the pandemic's peak still weeks away. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
We return to our top story next, including a moment for this moment.
It's hard to remember the places you've been.
Finding ways to connect during tragedy in the midst of a pandemic. Next. The night of a tragedy like this, you often see vigils, memorials, people coming together to mourn those killed in senseless acts of violence. But tonight, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so that can't happen. Instead, Nova Scotians have made use of a Facebook page, one that has become popular during the COVID-19 lockdown, the virtual kitchen party. Musicians jumped on their guitars, pianos, for some of them harmonicas, to fill people's homes with a variety of tunes. And this is tonight's moment.
Kitchen party, what's going on? But how can I expect to win if I never try? Oh, I just can't give up now. Come too far from where I started from.
The fortune in your eyes is more like a dream. She's called Nova Scotia. She so makes you feel you discovered a treasure no other have seen.
Well, I hope that is some small comfort tonight. Hard to imagine this mass murder happening in the rural Maritimes, but then again, it makes no sense anywhere. And the depth of this tragedy is going to get even deeper in the next few hours and days as we begin to learn more names of more victims. And, 16 people or maybe more with connections to so many families and people probably stretching right across the country. That is the National for Sunday, April the 19th. Good night.